We're live, everyone. We're here having our meetings to build chaos.
Yeah.
But by the way, we got to start with an intro like that, sort of each time.
Mm-hmm.
To talk to the audience.
I was expecting a few more people here today.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Sorry, I missed that. What did you say?
I just said, what do you mean?
You said there was more people here today?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I thought we were missing.
See the delay?
I was.
You're freezing up real bad. You got some bad weather up there?
Today.
There's 70.
How you doing, 70?
70.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
Brian, you're freezing up real bad.
He's here.
So you know.
Yeah, you're a lot younger than I thought you would be.
I'm 36. I look young, though.
You look like you're about 20-something.
I thought you'd be 50, 60.
Hold on. I'm not getting
Why
it
do
here.
you think I'd be old?
You know, Yeah. I'm going to cut out and try to reconnect with my, use my phone and see if I get a
Yeah, because your video completely froze up.
Yeah. Oh, he's using his PC this time.
Yeah.
And he has a pretty old, shitty PC. Yeah, that's causing it. So we missed you last week, 70?
Yeah, sorry about that. I got
It's
sick.
okay. We're here every week, so it's no big deal. So as soon as Brian connects and it's good, normally we're just using these meetings to discuss issues. But when there's a new person, we like to give you some time to talk in the beginning to learn about what we're doing, ask whatever questions you want, and then we'll get into meeting stuff.
All right, that sounds good.
And just do a small intro of yourself.
Something wrong with my...
So we're missing a lot of people right now. The other Brian is usually here. Ernst is usually here. And there's supposed to be a newcomer, aside from 70, is supposed to be here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that a list of people.
The list is getting long.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, well, some of them don't really need to be on there, I guess. Well, for one thing, I'm sure some people are like, sort of quit, and they're just still in the list.
There's Brian.
Oh, no.
So am I getting you guys any better?
You're still freezing up on your video. It's got to be something with your internet connection. We can hear you, though.
Am I muted?
No, we can hear you. Can you not hear me? Oh. How about the fact if I turn my volume up a little bit?
Hello?
Is that better? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear everybody. Fine.
I hear you, Ed. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You just tend to freeze
Nobody can
every
hear
now
me?
and then.
Yeah, we can hear you, Brian.
Okay.
Can you switch
You
to
guys
horizontal?
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
That's better. Or you can
Okay.
tell the difference between your phone and your computer.
All right, yeah, I've got a way better camera on my phone.
Hey, Ernst. How you doing, Ernst?
Oh, hello, Ernst.
All right. I don't think we heard Ernst. Ernst, can you say something? We're not hearing anything. Oh.
Came and went.
What's that noise you and I just made? Is that a thing from like only Americans or what?
I don't know.
We both made the same noise as if it's a word. It reminds me, I see these memes talking about Midwesterners where if you're in a grocery store and you almost accidentally bump into someone, we say, what is it? Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. Oops. Oops, sorry.
All right, we ready? Oh, I
All
still
right.
can't hear Ernst.
Ernst, you're still muted somehow.
I'm glad it's you, Ernst, and not me.
We usually don't have this much trouble.
Yeah, we're having a lot of trouble today.
I think Ernst is having some audio issues on his system.
So we hear something from him, I can tell.
Yeah, I
But
can
not
hear
his mouth.
background.
Yeah.
It's almost like a feedback, static.
How about now?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Welcome. There you
Hang
go.
on. How about now?
All right. It's
Can you
good.
hear me?
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's my headphone plug is screwing things up. Okay,
Ah,
All right, 6 minutes to figure all that out. We're good now.
good stuff.
All right, so
Okay.
70, do you have any, or you want to say anything or ask us questions about chaos?
Yeah. Well, first, I guess I'll just like explain who I am and stuff a little bit. So I'm a social worker, social welfare scholar, and activist. I heard that Ernst also has a background in social work. I listened to your live streams already, so I got clued in prior to coming here. I graduated with a PhD in social welfare last June, and I also have a master's in social work, a bachelor's in psychology, and a bachelor's in gerontology. Prior to my master's, I worked as a research program coordinator. I also worked at a few nonprofit mental health agencies, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, both directly with clients and then also in management roles and stuff. I also have some freelance grant writing experience, and I've been a writer since I was very young. Over the past couple of years, I would say I've grown increasingly interested in advancing two main goals, though I'm still getting my footing around how to be involved in that kind of stuff. So the first is cooperative development and democracy in labor, and the second is building tools to respond to labor automation, economic decline, democratic backsliding, all the issues we have currently in the United States and elsewhere. I find it really disappointing that our global systems kind of render AI more of a risk than an opportunity, especially because it seems like the drudgery of some of the labor we've like had to do throughout history has kept us from designing the futures that we want. So it just seems like if we were able to automate a lot of basic functions, we'd have an unprecedented opportunity to really slow down and be more intentional about what we decide to project onto the future, right? So instead of that, we're seeing a breakdown of institutions and people fretting about techno-feudalism as though we're doomed to this dystopian future. So with my interest in chaos, because I've met Brian on a subreddit, I think it was Political Revolution. That was the subreddit I was on. I liked the idea of going beyond the closed-ended questions we typically use in polling. I liked the global scope of the project. I liked the focus on democracy. And I have some experience collaborating with computer scientists as a child welfare subject matter expert. So I thought that might be helpful. And mostly on like fairness and bias in AI, but on like just broadly, but focus on child welfare for one of these projects. And then also quite a bit of experience with statistical analysis and cross-disciplinary collaboration. So I thought, I wanted to get involved in something democratically structured. And as I said, I'm a strong advocate of injecting democracy into how we live and labor. So that's kind of where I come from with my interest in this. I guess my biggest question is, I haven't watched the last live stream, so maybe just catch me up real quick on where you were, because I watched all the other live streams except for the one that you just did.
last live stream, we worked more on the website end, getting our website up and going, which is what I'm working on. Unfortunately, we didn't get the domain name completely changed over until Friday, so I have not been able to work on the website this week because it locked me out of the administration part of Joomla because it wasn't
actually,
completely
on
transferred
your
in.
website, I went online to look for it, and I found it, and it was like a login page. It looked like I couldn't get into it to see what was going on, but I did find it. I was able to see it.
So here's what we talked about last time. I wonder, 70, if this is the kind of thing you can help with.
Yeah, with the nonprofit stuff, I actually have written. I've written like all the bylaws and stuff for that. I have like all that stuff kind of like saved.
So the point is, and all that is legalese, which you understand a little bit, probably more than the rest of us.
Yeah, and then also, where are you thinking of like starting one? What state are you starting it in?
Well,
Okay, let me try to answer that. Unless Brian, you want to.
well, I could. Yeah, this thing has to be done on a worldwide scale right from the beginning. So I don't know exactly how you register for that, or what the process will be. But I think the best example is Reddit. And when Reddit started, they went worldwide all at once. And the reason for that was they need engagement, and without engagement, there's no interest in Reddit. Nobody would want to go there with other people being there. So they didn't want to do anything that could possibly restrict engagement, and so they just went worldwide right off the bat. And we need to do the same thing for various reasons. One, we need as much engagement as we can from anywhere in the world. The second, though, is that we have no categories or any way of separating things. So since it's a chaotic pile of opinions, it'd be very difficult to say that this is just going to be done in the New York State or something like that. And then do we put, how would we restrict that? How would we say that you can't talk about other states, or that other people in other states can't participate? It just becomes a problem. So, it becomes a problem with the very basic idea of or principle of this, that we don't do any kind of categorization or any kind of organization of the opinions. So I don't see any other option just to do this on a worldwide scale right off the bat. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Let me try to answer it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I don't know, because I've never actually worked on any sort of global effort before, so that's the one would be like a learning curve for me, because I've only worked in like U.S. based like nonprofits and stuff.
You still have more experience than we do, no matter what, because none of us have done anything global either. So,
and also like the biggest thing I think about nonprofits now is just being able to get donations through but you don't have to do that immediately. Like you can take up to a year to figure it out. It's not like you can backdate. Basically, if you take in donations, you can like backdate it. But it's like, yeah, I'd have to look into how do you start one that is of global scope from the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm thinking at first, personally, Brian, I think we'd be better off starting this between Canada and America to get our international feet wet, and then we can scale out. Because, like I said before, we need to have a proof of concept. And
no, we don't.
A perfect way. We don't.
No. You see, Reddit had no way to do a beta test, and so they're the best example of what we have to copy. There was no opportunity. Once again, you can't prove a concept. What they're trying to prove is that people will want to use their site, but that's impossible to prove until people are on the site. So they have a conundrum there that it's impossible to do a proof of concept, because you can't get people to want to even look at the site unless there's already a bunch of people on it. So it's it's a chicken and egg thing going on there.
We still might have some element of starting without all the features. Like, as an example, we won't have all the languages.
Yes. Yeah, we may. There may be some delays.
It'll be just
areas.
English initially.
Yes, but that doesn't mean somebody in China can't participate. And if they can translate on their end too. So, they could always put an entry in English, even if they don't speak English.
No, that's not how the technology works. Like,
no,
our KAOS system would have to have built-in capability to handle multiple languages in order for somebody to put something in another language.
Yes, but they could easily, I would assume, it's not like I've ever done this, but if I put something in notes, I'm pretty sure that there's a feature that I could have it changed to another language in my notes, and then I could copy and paste it over to.
KAOS won't absorb it unless we've built it with those languages.
Yeah,
No,
we've
no, but
got to
like
have
I
it.
said, like I said, they're transferring it to English before they put it in our system. They do that
Oh.
on their side.
Oh,
Okay.
If I
so
wanted
they
to
have
do
to know
something,
English. So they're just using English.
yeah, if I wanted to send an email in Chinese to somebody in China, I could translate it in my notes and then put it into an email and send it, and it's now in their language. I don't see any.
You know, you just made me realize maybe we should be helping people translate.
Well, that's a little further down the road, but yeah.
Google Translate is pretty much on top of that pile right now
Yeah.
for being accurate at it.
So either way,
So-
anyway,
Maybe we can team up with Google and use your translator somehow in our system, because they got
They have an API for that.
they got the footwork done as far
I
as
could
turning
probably-
one language into another.
I could probably get the API for it, Rami. I mean, they usually use a lot of open source stuff, so.
I'm sure there's competitors too.
So let me try to answer 70's question. He said, like, what's the current state of our project? And I think mainly what it is, I mean, what Brian was explaining is what the goal is. Assuming that's the goal, or the correct goal, or the goal we should be following. We need some expertise that we're missing right now, and we documented it in a subreddit, and we're gonna use it as a post to tell people who we're needing. I think this is what we've been discussing. Obviously, we need software engineers. We don't have anyone here that is a software engineer except for one that has met with us once. But we need more than that. We need marketing professionals, because one day we're going to do a crowdfunding campaign or something like that. We need people that have done that successfully. None of us have done that. We probably need some graphic designers. None of us do that.
My
I can.
do graphic design stuff. So
Well, right now Edward's doing it, but it's not like his profession, you know.
Yeah.
And then we probably need some writers. Right now, Brian is our writer. Ernst is also a writer. We probably need attorneys to help us understand the international law bullshit.
Yeah, we need attorneys.
And then we also need, but 70 is already here. So none of us have grant writing experience or anything about how it works. Maybe one day we get money through grants, and 70 would help us write it.
There's one, I would say, so I actually know quite a bit about this part of it. One thing that would be really helpful, and I don't know when we're going to get to we would have to get a little bit of donations in or something in to do this, but a grant management solution really helps with being able to manage grant, and also to get through to some people, because it's kind of functions these days as a platform to talk to donors that normally wouldn't. It's an invite only usually, right? So that's the other thing, is that when I was looking into starting a nonprofit recently, it was I think anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 a year for a grant management solution.
What is that software that helps you do the whole thing?
It helps you organize, first of all, identify grants automatically that align with your mission, and then also it does a lot of things. I'll have to show you. One of the ones I was looking at is Instrumental. It's INSTRUM. Hold on, let me find it. Here. But yeah, when I was looking into it, I was like, if one person's you could have one person do quite a bit if you have something that helps you manage the grants, right? Other than that, it's, it can be kind of difficult with one person to start up with, but there's nothing coming in. So I think that's the easiest way to get started with writing grants when you're,
You're bad.
we're starting out.
You said it's $5,000 a year?
It depends on which one you get, because there's a few different tiers. Let me look at the tiers.
Well, the point is we would need the person first and then the software. So if you're the person, then we could have the software. I imagine we need even more than just you involved in this. I'm not really sure. I don't know how any of this works. You'd be teaching us.
Oh no, I never actually started any sort of started a nonprofit. I was thinking about doing something very similar to what you're talking about. That's why I was interested. Because I was like, I know that I can't do this because, especially with starting, like if you wanted to start a co-op instead of a nonprofit, so in some states it requires like 5 people or whatever. So I kind of stopped there. So I did look into a lot of this stuff.
70, you mentioned that you do some writing too. What kind of writing?
Mostly academic, but I also have like grant writing experience, and I used to write in zines, like underground like circulated newsletters and stuff when I was younger. But yeah,
Okay.
and poetry when I was younger. I used to do some poetry as well.
Okay. Yeah, we definitely need writers. There's quite a burden on me. Right now, I've been doing most of the writing, and yeah, it's something that's very difficult for me to do. I'm a welder as a profession, so I don't have any experience really in writing. And over the last 10 years, I've been talking about this stuff. I've been getting better, but I haven't been doing this since high school, like most people, and so it's quite a burden for me. And any help we can get in writing and being able to express ourselves in this stuff be very, very helpful.
So there's 2 essays Brian wrote, drafts of them, and they're like the first 2 essays we want people to see when they first come to KAOS. We're gonna put them on the website. We're gonna put them on Substack, but Brian's wanting to improve the essays before we call them published.
Yeah.
So if you want to help with the writing on that, you could 70.
If you can send me the essays, I can take a look at them.
They're on Substack.
There's also
Let me get you the link.
I saw already that I would maybe edit it if I.
Let me
One
get
thing
the
I
link.
would say that I noticed you do a lot, Brian, when you explain this, which I think you should be careful with, is you say that it's not a popular idea. Which I think reinforces the idea it's not. But I feel like if we want it to be the majority, then it has to be a popular idea.
Okay. Let me just address that. Let me address that for a second. I think it's part of the narrative, because part of the narrative of what I'm trying to promote here is the fact that this type of technology has been held back, and it's because of its unpopularity. So I'd like people to be aware of the fact that it is unpopular for really unjustified reasons, and the idea of a majority rule system is extremely grating to a lot of people, and we need to get them past that. So I feel it's kind of important to recognize that and not pretend that that's not really a thing. And I think it kind of adds to our narrative, because it's it's the underdog. We are the underdog by far, and for these reasons. And if we can get that message across, I think that kind of people like to root for the underdog a little bit, And yes, it's admitting that we are not in a good position, but at the same time, it's also making people aware of this, real resistance to this type of technology. And so I think it's part of the narrative. I don't think we can avoid it. And there's one other aspect of it. Let me think here. I had something else I wanted to say about it. Oh, now I lost it.
It's all right. If it comes up again, let us know. I want to say real quick, I tried to find those 2 draft essays, but I think I only found old versions of it. Brian, do you want to send us the last 2 latest revisions of those drafts?
Well, they're pinned up on the sub. Isn't that good enough?
Well, I see one is 3 months old. I know you've rewritten it since then.
No, but on the sub, it's posted as the top 2 things posted on our sub, right? They're pinned there, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, shit, I forgot that.
Yeah, I can look at the ones you've written. I read those.
Yeah.
There it is. 1 month old one. Okay. Here, I'll send you the links.
Okay.
That's the first one.
Let me finish this thought here. So the other reason why 70, you mentioned that we have to get the majority on board, and actually we don't. That's the other thing I want to stress here. We don't need a majority of people of the population of the world to be behind this. To put this thing into place, we only need, as soon as we get the experts we need and we're able to find the money we need, if there's only 100 of us or 1,000 of us, if we are still able to put this into place and get it into place, I don't expect people to use it because it's a political tool. I expect them to use it because it's a more trusted method of rating things like movie ratings, or rating your Uber driver, or rating your various services. And so I expect it to grow for various reasons, but not specifically for political reasons. Eventually it becomes a political tool. Now, when nobody asked for Twitter and nobody asked for Facebook, the majority of the population did not have to say, we want this. They just put it out there. And if it's a good tool and it's useful, then everybody starts using it. And that's what we want to focus on. That's what I think we want to focus on, is creating a really good tool for life in general. And so that's the reason why it's used and it grows. Expecting the majority of the population to support this is unheard of, and it's not needed, and it's not feasible. Like I said, it's an unpopular idea to begin with. We're going to have a hard enough time getting enough people to get this thing built. It's not feasible that the majority will ever be behind this until they've actually seen it working and see the results. And so I also like to point out, I don't think most people think about this, but George Washington imposed democracy upon us. Nobody was asking for it. He didn't want to be king. He knew there was this option, and he really forced it upon America. Most people wanted him to be king. And
I knew that.
Yeah. So it is possible to impose a democracy or higher levels of democracy onto the population. And that's generally how it's done. It's not really everybody votes for it and then they decide to have democracy. That's not how it started anyway. And that's how a lot of big things have happened in our world. And so we're going to follow that same route. And we don't need the majority anyway to make this happen. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I kind of agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think I was just focusing on the messaging mostly because I think you're selling it a little bit short. I just think it's a cooler idea than I think more people want it than we realize. That's all. I think we're moving towards wanting this. We're like as a society. Yeah.
Very slowly, but it does seem that way. I mean, I've been pushing this thing for 10 years and now all of a sudden it's catching on. And there's various reasons for that. And I think one of them is that people are waking up, are trying to look for new options, And so.
And we're in the right position to break that glass ceiling.
Yeah, I think the timing is working out very, very well. There's a couple of aspects to this thing. The other one is AI. AI has reached a point that people can see how beneficial it could be in this type of system. And I don't have to convince them that it's going to eventually get there because it's there now. The technology is at the point that it could be really helpful in a system like ours. So.
Yeah, one thing I was wondering is, have you considered how you're going to communicate with different government, like world governments and stuff? Because I was wondering, how do you set up, like, where would the data be located? And I guess you said you want to start in the United States and Canada. I'm a little concerned about the United States, I'll be honest, in terms of starting it there. I just think we're going downhill.
You mean the actual data, it shouldn't be in the US, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's the best idea.
Well, the thing is, right now, our data is going to be US based. But once we get to where we need to worry about worldwide functionality, we're going to have to look into getting servers in localities to handle the load, because this one server isn't going to be able to do it. We're going to have multiple servers across the world.
Well, I talk about this a little bit in the explanation of how it works, and I touched on that part. We want to have servers in virtually every country, and some countries are going to be a lot more open to allowing us to store virtually any kind of data. And we should probably pick a country or a place that we can have a server. Even if we start with a server in the US, there may be certain opinions that the American government does not want us storing in those servers. So we should probably be mirroring everything into another server, at least in one country where we feel that it's fairly safe there, that there's not going to be any push to censor the data.
So by the way,
so that if we do have to censor the data in the American server, we have another replicated version that's held someplace else that they cannot touch and they cannot force us to remove, you know?
So by the way the technology works, I'm no computer engineer or whatever, but what I hear from them is the whole concept of distributing the server across multiple places is it can be an automatic thing, you know, where we don't even have to write a whole bunch of code. It's automatic when you get the right system. Again, I'm not speaking, you know, the way
you got to mirror the original system to the other servers so that the information's available.
Yeah. Just so you don't lose your data. That's why they do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the cloud. It's kind of like a cloud.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, our data in the cloud, it's not in one place.
Right.
None of them are like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So but one of those locations should be in a country that we feel will have, you know, a very open attitude about data storage. I'm not sure which country yet, but I know that there are ones out there that claim to want to have that kind of.
So as an example,
openness.
SiteGround.com is based in Germany, I think. That's a good one. We could be using that.
Mm-hmm.
I used to use them years ago.
Yeah. I know Estonia is very pro digital. Perhaps they might be a good option. I'm not sure. We would have to look into what the different rules are and what kind of censorship various countries have a history of.
And what their laws are about all that shit.
Yeah, and what their laws are about that.
Like there's laws over in the UK right now that they've just enacted. I mean, you've got some stringent rules you got to go with to run a website.
I would say that's worse than the US. Yeah, in the UK.
Oh yeah, way worse. Way worse.
Yeah, I think they're going downhill that way. Yeah,
and we're starting to follow the same track here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll say that I'm moving. I'm probably going to be moving to Taiwan, so I might be able to look into stuff while I'm there too, because I'm not staying in this country personally.
Moving to Taiwan.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's I'm in the process right now of doing a lot of stuff related to that.
Hey, maybe you can drum up some interest over there. According to Brian, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I would. I think the Far East there is very has some great opportunities for this type of thing. They have their democracies are much younger, and they have a much a bigger love of democracy than we do in America. Right now, the American attitude is maybe democracy is not working so well. And most people, and in fact, all your intellectual people in America are trying to figure out ways to reduce democracy. Ezra Klein has come out and said that, not fully openly, but pretty close to openly saying that. There's, one of the biggest books is 10% Less Democracy. And so that's the trend here in North America. But in in Taiwan and Hong Kong. Well, Hong Kong is a little late there, but all these countries are very desperate to keep their democracies, and they are very, it's a new to them still. It's only one generation old, and they feel more passionate about democracy than we do. So I think there's an opportunity there to, ideally, we should have groups or offices or whatever you want to call them, associations in many different countries. And
Satellites.
Satellites, yes. And so when we do start this thing off, they're helping to promote it in these other countries as well. And I think that places like Taiwan are going to play critically into this. They tend to adapt to digital technology quicker than we do too. So their
you
love
also
of
gotta-
democracy,
You also got to remember, like state or countries like USSR and China. I mean, they're locked down on what you can get on the internet.
yeah.
If it's not state approved, it don't go through.
Yes.
So North Korea is the same way. So I'm pretty much thinking those three locations are going to be real tough to put a crack in that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So 70 asked, are we are we going to talk to government? So Brian, explain
Yeah.
your view on how it is we're going to have a relationship with governments.
Well, it's going to be a bit adversarial, I'm sure, to begin with. This is like a second layer of democracy that is not connected to existing governments. I don't expect them to really embrace us to begin with, but a lot of politicians have embraced things like Twitter and Facebook to get a good idea of what their constituents want. Those type of politicians, when they see this performing better than Twitter or than Facebook as far as reliable data, I think they will all be gravitating to our system to understand their people better, and so that they can win elections. That's their goal. But at first, and once again, we don't need permission from any of these people to put this into place. Facebook didn't have to ask any, did not tie
Well, they did give
themselves
us
to
permission. We already have the freedom here, but yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So anyway, I don't really see any real advantage to trying to get any governments involved at this point. I think that they will just kind of gravitate to it. And I don't see any of them embracing us right from the beginning. If there is any that would, and if there was one I would talk to first, once again, it would be Estonia. Estonia really likes to push the idea that they are a digital nation. Maybe with them, there might be an in, but I don't really, I don't think that's where our focus should be with governments. They're just going to have to deal with us.
Sweden and Iceland?
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know if they embrace it, digital that much. I don't know. There's possibilities there. I just don't, in my general relationship with governments, they don't seem to like, people telling them what to do or, saying anyway, perhaps I don't know.
Yeah, I can guarantee they don't like being told what to do. Look at our government right now.
Yeah.
Brian, why don't you explain the other part about how KAOS can be seen as a collective. What did you call it? You said
a collective action tool.
Yes,
it's a collective action tool. I expect this very much to take the place of unions, and I expect us to work like one big united union in a lot of ways. And as I point out in the how it works, I think it's pretty obvious that the people are going to want to collect money for their data. So when they see their data being used in our system, they will start demanding that industries pay for that data. This is a classic collective action that we will be taking to collect money from industries to pay for our data. And so that will help set a precedent, and people will see how we are able to pressure industries without changing any laws. We don't need any, we're just going to threaten boycott or something like this to these industries. And that will be enough for them to start paying us for the data. And so this, I'm not saying this has to happen, but it seems like a pretty obvious thing. And that in itself is going to be a massive collective action that will be using our system. And so anyway, once you see that, you're also going to see, well, we could do other things people will have all kinds of ideas about how they should change industries. You know, cut down on plastics, right? We can push industries to cut down on packaging, and once again, we could threaten boycott. And
again, when we say we don't mean the KAOS people, us five. We mean the KAOS user base.
Yeah, and these are assumptions on my part. I can't tell you what the people are going to do, but I do believe it's pretty obvious they're going to want to get paid for their data, and so these are assumptions on my part. But I don't think they're a stretch. If this system is in place and it allows people to express themselves, and they're able to connect on this level. Another thing I want to point out, I've been involved with Occupy and things like that in the past, and we've done, tried to do collective action and stuff like this and protesting and stuff. And when you try to get a bunch of people online to participate in a move of some type, you get, you might get, let's say you get 100 people online that say they're going to be there. You're lucky if you get 10. That's the average, about 10%. If you're doing better than 10% showing up, then you're doing better than the average. So my point here is everything is pretty anonymous online right now, and people say, "Oh, I'll be there," and then they sleep in and they just don't really care that much. If somebody were to claim that they will be there and they have posted their name and their address and all their analytics, and they've said, I'm Brian Charlebois and I'm telling you I'm going to be there, there's a lot better chance they're going to be there. I think that, people are, there's a history, right? And we'll have a history of how many times you said you were going to be at a collective action and you weren't there, right? And then, my AI, when I'm going through this data, it's going to be able to tell me, okay, 100 people said they're going to be there, but 20 of them have never showed up in the past. So we're going to wipe those right off, right? And then we can, we're going to get a better understanding of who will actually participate. And that's a big deal. So that when you're planning a march or something like this, and 1,000 people say they're going to be there, you get pretty sure you're going to get at least 950. And that's going to be a huge step above what we are getting now when we're trying. And maybe you're trying to do something and it doesn't work. Well, at least you know it before you tried it. You have a better idea how much support you have. So anyway, that's how I feel about it. That it's going to really help with the collective action.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's a lot of opportunities for also doing like simulations and stuff. I talk about that quite a bit. Like instead of just jumping into a change, people can like engage in gaming or something to simulate that change and then see what the consequences of it are and talk about it and stuff like that.
Yes. Well, that'll also help a great deal in getting people to commit, right? And that's where I find that on the internet right now, people claim to commit, but there is no real committal there. And when there's a history of how many times that you've committed and you didn't, I think that's going to really push people to want to give a better image of themselves, right? So I think it'll make a big difference.
I'm not so sure.
Well,
I think if you want people to commit to the system has to do what it says it does.
Yes,
and until
absolutely.
it does what it says it does, people aren't going to commit.
Yeah, and that's
and you can't shame people into being part of this, or you're just like everybody else.
Ernst, yes, I agree with you, and I'd like to point out though that once we have examples, it's going to be much easier, and that's why I like to go back to the getting paid for your data, because I think that's going to set an example. When we get to that point that we're capable of pulling that one off,
paying people for their data.
Yes.
Why?
Yeah.
Why
pay them for their data?
Because that's their that's their right. It's their information. They have the right to.
But how does that help the system? How does that help the democratic force of the system act on society to get people to pay people for their data? I don't understand that.
No, that is not a part. that is not a part of democracy.
You're bribing people to be part of the system, and I don't think that's really going to lead to what we want.
Well, Ed, Ernst, I don't think I would consider it bribery, considering that it's their data. So I really like to point this out, that what I'm describing here, UBI as a UBI, is not like they're getting paid for nothing. Their data is valuable, and so they're that value they should be paid for. So
I'm trying to suggest that their data will be entered because they think it will give them power over their political lives, and that there doesn't really need to be. It's like when you give a child their allowance for doing their chores, they learn the wrong things.
Okay, but Ernst, when it comes to political stuff, there's not much value there. Politicians are not going to pay us for that information, and we don't want to charge them for it because they work for us. But when this is where our system expands far beyond politics. So I drive a Toyota. I think Toyotas are fantastic. I want a place that I could tell the world that Toyotas are the best fucking vehicles out there. I'm going to be putting my opinion in this system about how I feel about Toyotas. The Toyota company is going to appreciate that. That data is valuable to them. And this has nothing to do with politics, not really. And so anyway, I'm getting paid now for the data that I'm putting out there about how I support Toyota. And so, and Toyota's appreciating that. And they're using that data to help them sell their vehicles. So,
well, I understand the scenario you're setting up. I just don't agree, based on what I've already said, that people shouldn't be coming here because they're going to get paid for their data. They should be coming here because they think and they know and they feel and they trust that it's a place where if they make a noise with their voice, that will count for something.
Yeah. But the example of getting paid for their data will really reinforce the fact that their voice can help them to change.
Yeah,
things.
I disagree 100%, Brian. You can talk all you want for the next 10 days and give us all the examples you want. I will not agree with that.
All right.
The thing
Well,
with
in any
the
case,
with-
the chaos main people don't have to agree on this.
No,
It's the user base that will be having to
That's
agree or disagree about it.
that's true. And if you haven't noticed, Ernst keeps us all honest here and make sure that we're on top of these things. Thank you.
he's our devil's
Back a
advocate.
lot, and it's very helpful.
Makes us think on other ways.
That's right. That's
Well,
right.
you invited me here, so I'm going to tell you what I think.
And that's what we want you to do.
That's right, Ernst. I'm just ribbing you, and I appreciate it. I absolutely appreciate it.
We're also saying it because we want other people to also think that way and do that.
Yeah.
What do you
We
mean?
want to encourage people to be like Ernst. Everyone be like
Yeah,
Ernst. Please.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
The thing
you
is, when it comes to the UBI idea, that's in the future. We're right now. We need to focus on what we're doing. That right now we're just putting the cart before the horse with looking at the UBI part. We need to focus on getting the information going.
Although when we start asking people for money and grants and all that kind of stuff, that is probably something we're explaining as a potential future thing.
Absolutely. But the key is we've got to realize this is a future. It's not a guarantee at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, it's not a guarantee our whole system's going to keep going.
No.
At this point, we're trying something new. There's a lot of people that are anti-AI because, I'm going to lose my job or, things like that.
Well, they are going to lose their jobs. That's not.
But it's not happening right now. I mean, AI is not
A lot of
that
people are
good.
losing their jobs.
Yeah, actually, if you look on the every day almost, I see a post on the AI subreddits about I lost my job to AI,
Or I lost my business.
Or I lost my business
because I'm not using AI and some other company is now.
I haven't seen.
And governments realize that. Governments realize that. They're slowly getting to realize that. You guys want to hear a little story about Ontario? Okay, maybe
Okay.
15 years ago, a little longer than that, we got in a right-wing government that tore apart welfare rates, took them down by maybe 30%, and brought in work for welfare and all kinds of punitive garbage. And then the liberals came in and fixed it. And then the conservatives got in again, and they didn't touch it. They, in fact, raised rates very slowly, very quietly over the years they were in, because government realizes that fact. Jobs are disappearing. There's nothing that ever can change that. Not all jobs.
So far, the
There will
U.S.
always
hasn't figured that out.
there will always be work for people, but the necessity of work, or the long hours, unless they're just like gonna do make work, it has to go, and it's going, and it's slipping, and there's nothing anybody can do about that except find a way to adapt. But governments do realize that slowly.
Mhm. No, I
When the
think they do.
conservatives do the exact opposite of what they normally do, like
Yeah.
they just did in Ontario, you got to say those guys know, they know.
Yeah, I think most of the governments are aware, and they don't know what to do. I think most of them are just dumbfounded what to do. But
Well, they're
I think
playing. They're
Yeah.
playing the public. They can't just say what I just said, or they won't get voted in, right? But
Yeah.
they can do it quietly underground, and
Yeah.
because there's still so many people who believe that's ridiculous and impossible, and everybody must have a job, and governments are still running on, we're going to create jobs, and so vote for us, and people are oh, jobs, we need jobs, and it's ridiculous. But it's not their understanding that they're presenting when they say that. It's just their understanding of how to get voted in.
Yeah,
I've always
they're here-
found
they're
it
under-
voters are
to me
hearing
that
the
we're
word.
creating jobs. Like, if there doesn't need to be the job, why are we creating it? It's like, it's strange to me. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If-
If it's not
yeah.
needed, why do you need to
They're
create?
playing on the fact that a lot of people are having a hard time getting jobs, and so they think if they hear that they will, give them their vote. And-
My personal thought on the whole job situation is that, yeah, these jobs are going to disappear, but there's a million jobs that need to be done that we don't really recognize. And none of those jobs are profitable, though, in the sense that you're going to start a business and make profit doing it. These are jobs that need to be done, but there's the only way to do it is to have people paid through some governing structure. Now, what I'm talking about is right now we are going through an extinction epidemic, extinction that we've never seen before. Our Earth is spiraling. Besides, humans seem to be spiraling too, but at the same time, we're dragging the Earth with us, and the entire biosphere is just spiraling down. One of my biggest things is insects. I went to Europe 4 years ago. I could barely find a bug. There's no fucking bugs in Europe. How the hell does life live without insects? Right? So anyway, my point being, though, that there's a billions of jobs that need to be done to understand what is happening in our world. I could pick up a handful of dirt, and we don't know 99% of what's going on or what is in that dirt. We don't understand how our Earth works. So there's a billion jobs out there, and just trying to have some kind of understanding about how to manage this planet. So I don't think there's no shortage of jobs that need to be done. It's just, can we fund them? Can we fund somebody to go find out what's in the dirt? Anyway, that's my feelings on it. There's no end to the jobs that need to be done. They're just not the jobs we're doing now.
But that's kind of like saying after a million years.
Yeah.
That's kind of like saying
there's no
after
need
a
for
million years,
jobs
all we
or
have is
anything like that.
scientists.
Yeah. I think that science is the big future. Yes. I think we
70. What are you trying to say, 70?
Sorry, I was just saying that I don't think that there's no need for jobs. It's more like we just keep creating these useless jobs that don't need to exist, just so somebody can get a paycheck. That's the only reason why we do it, because we have a system reliant on wage labor. I mean, it's like, it's not working anymore. It just isn't. Yeah,
That's right.
It's gotten out of hand. I mean, one of the problems I know a lot of these people are running into when they've lost their job, they're trying to get a job that's paying them the same amount of money they lost and the companies aren't hiring you at that amount of money right away. They don't know you from Adam. They want you to show that you know what you're doing. It's a meritocracy.
And what I'm hearing too is they don't train people anymore. They want you to know everything right from day one.
That's right. Yeah. I get a lot of that in my industry. A lot of it. They don't expect to train anybody.
That's because there's a big surplus labor pool. They can treat people how they want.
But
Because
that in my
people need a job to survive, and so it sets them right up for
Your
that.
industry?
in my industry, I find that nobody wants to train anybody, but they're constantly complaining that they cannot find people with experience. There's very few people that are very well experienced in the welding trade here, and they're very highly sought after. I'm making better money than I ever have before because I have so much wealth of experience, and hardly anybody in my shop has anything near that. And so anyway, there seems to be a lot of emphasis on experience, but they don't want to go through the expense of giving somebody the experience, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's the biggest problem. They don't want to train these people to do the things the way they want them, and then expect you to wing it and know how the company wants it done.
All right, we're not really talking about chaos anymore. We're having
we need to.
Do we have anything important to talk about now? Still, Sam, do you have any more questions, or do we have anything else?
No, but I could probably send you a bunch of stuff that I've written with like I've written bylaws up before that tries to structure things cooperatively. I've written a contract for this kind of
maybe
stuff.
If you guys want, maybe next week we dedicate a big chunk to discussing those things.
Yeah, I can send it to you, and then you can take a look at it between now
and then next week we'll spend the time talking about it.
Sure. Okay.
So if you just email it to me and I'll get ready for it.
All right, sounds good.
Anything else, guys?
No, we have a list of things to go through, though, right? No.
I was I can show you the thing again.
You're basically documenting what we were talking about.
Yeah, these are the things we talked about. Here's what we talked about last time, and then what I try to do is I bold the stuff that hasn't been resolved. There's no bold here except for a few things.
Last time we talked a little bit about and we just mentioned it again at the 70 here to maybe have a look at the essays that I wrote there. I just wanted to say something specific about the How It Works essay. At the very end of it, I just kind of threw a bunch of stuff together, and I put a title there. I can't even remember what it was. But, just kind of talking about what benefits that the system may have. Anyway, I just threw that together very quickly. We should kind of clean that up a little bit, maybe eliminate a few, change the order. And
I don't think it should have shit like this.
Like
this
what?
Makes it feel like it's a different essay.
The horizontal lines.
Yeah, well, if you think I'm dividing it up in a bad way, maybe we should change how we're doing that.
And I'm not so sure it should have these titles. Definitely not this many titles. Like there's this little title for this small amount of text.
One thing you might want to think about is collecting some data on like the demand for this kind of thing, or like asking I'm trying to think of how you would start doing that for like a project of this scope, because there's several different countries to consider. You probably have to start with like a couple different.
I wonder how useful that would be, because I always think of stuff like when Steve Jobs wanted to make the iPhone, and if he previous to that asked everyone in the world, "Hey, do you think you would like the iPhone?" I don't think there would have been many yeses.
No.
Well, it's really
we didn't know we were going to want it until we had it.
That's right. Yeah, there's a lot of that in this as well.
The biggest key on making this work is we've got to show the value.
Yeah, it's really for just getting grants and stuff. I think that like I said, I'm not saying that it's something that needs to be done for us. It's more so for like convincing other people to give you money. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to show the value of it. Give them a reason to want to invest with us. I'll be setting up the Nextcloud account today. And I will be working on the thumbnail for the podcast. And I'm still looking in onto the server stuff. The
It's also something about publishing a peer-reviewed journal. What was that? Sorry, I forgot about that part. I didn't.
Which part?
Something about publishing a peer-reviewed journal.
a peer review.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of experience with that.
Well, you mentioned newsletters. You know, we kind of need somebody to do a newsletter for us for after these meetings every Sunday. Something brief, you know, like so that people don't have to catch every meeting and they can just kind of briefly get some idea what we went over.
And have a link to the latest video.
Yeah, which will always be in the sub anyway, right?
So, 70, can you say more about your experience with peer-reviewed journals?
Yeah, I have like 12 publications now. I'm not sure. But yeah, I have a lot of experience with publishing and reviewing peer review. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that.
Is there any way that we could put something together that we could get published? Something about this in a peer
Yeah,
review?
definitely. You just have to obviously find the proper journal, the proper venue to put it in, and we might have to obviously have structure. You know, what are we going to? What are the main like questions we're addressing?
Yeah.
Like narrow it down and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I would start from scratch. I wouldn't start from any of Brian's essays on this. There would be totally different format, right?
Yeah, it's not like writing a newsletter. Actually, it's been hard for me lately because I've been trying to get into blogging, and I tried to write a couple of blog posts, but I didn't end up posting them or anything. But it's gotten harder for me to remember how to not write as an academic. Like every second I want to or every sentence I want to cite something, right? Because
Yeah, I kind of
that.
noticed that. I kind of noticed that, I have to say.
Yeah, it's hard to go back to writing in a more accessible way. I've had to use ask AI to tell me can you please rate my writing in terms of what level it's written at. And I found out that I'm writing at the graduate level consistently, and I'm like, okay, I gotta fix this because this is not
Sixth grade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the newspapers.
Yeah, so I have to get better at writing more like a journalist, I guess, or more like a creative writer again.
I'm not crazy about the distinction between the two. If you're writing something and you cite things, you can do it in a way that isn't really why can't people just, if they don't care about the citing, just glaze over it? Why does there have to be a whole bunch of people that are given these dumbed down versions of everything?
Well, I do appreciate the dumbed down versions myself. I kind of need them sometimes.
I
think good writing doesn't need to have a dumbed down version. Arrogant, superfluous writing does.
There's a certain way of writing in academia, I think, that's boring. It's not necessarily that it's inaccessible, it's boring. It's just boring. It's not interesting. It does get kind of boring to read an academic, like an article, in a peer review journal. And I think the way that I am trying to write or get better at writing is engaging, so that people actually want to read it, you know?
Well, everybody keeps telling me you need a narrative. And
I like Brian's writing with respect to that, but I think it's actually a little bit too far in fanciful language and not enough concreteness in what he's saying.
Yeah, I don't cite people. That's not really my area. And that maybe is a problem.
I don't mean just citations. I just, it's a little bit too fancy.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I wouldn't have considered it fancy, but thank you.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
I can't think of anything, to be honest with you.
There's one thing I'd like to talk about, just mention here. Margaret Atwood was on Ezra Klein's podcast the other day, this week, and she had some interesting things to say. And what caught me the most was, and she was saying this in kind of that it can be a bad thing because it drives people to do some crazy stuff. But she was talking about people don't talk enough about how, and she's talking about sometimes bad revolutions like the MAGA movement and stuff like this, MAGA. That they have fun. These people have fun being involved in a revolution of some type. And sometimes that fun, it helps encourage them to do violence and things like this. That's obviously not the area I want to go into, but I'd like to stress fun. I think we need to stress fun. I personally think that we are trying to create a revolution. A lot of people don't consider this a revolution. That when I post on the revolution subreddits, they're like, no, that's not a revolution. But I think we are trying to create a revolution here, a non-violent revolution. And we should focus on fun.
I mean, I think it's an evolution, not a revolution.
Yeah, you could say that.
Revolution, generally, you mean violence.
Doesn't have to be.
Not necessarily.
I don't think
conflict
it has to be.
at any rate. Conflict at any rate.
Or paradigm shift.
A
is
paradigm
more like
shift.
what you're saying. But that's an evolution anyway. Because we're not throwing out all the shit we learned in the past. Which is what revolution means. But yeah, people have different meanings of what that word is in their head anyway.
Well, no matter what we want to call this, we want to make it fun. And we should emphasize the fun aspect of this. One of the great, what I consider one of the great uplifting, if not fun, aspects of this is a lot of people don't see a future. They don't see how we're going to get past where we are right now. They think the world is coming to an end. I like to think that we're offering a window of hope here, that there's an opportunity here that we can see a better future, right? That was the other thing Margaret Atwood also emphasized, is that we have to create positive utopian ideas. And she actually put her along with some online group organized something that they called positive. It was something like positive utopias. And she had a whole bunch of teams working on ideas for, improving the world. And that took place over a couple of month period where she was talking to people online directly and encouraging them and what have you. And anyway, I'm not sure. I guess they published everything that they came up with. But other than that, it didn't really go anywhere beyond that, I don't think. But anyway, that is closed now. I would have loved to have been a participant in that. I would have signed up to be to try to push our ideas in there. But it seems like it's too late for that one. But anyway, the point being, though, that we're missing, any positive future outlooks, and so. This should be a good thing. This should be something that, the fact that we're trying to offer people an opportunity, a window of opportunity that the future could be better. And we should relish in that, and we should rejoice that, and we should think about this and promote it as a fun thing. We're going to have fun in this revolution. This is going to be a fun affair. We're going to feel, excited to move forward with this, eh? So I just wanted to plant that in everybody's mind. Let's keep this fun. Let's not, don't let things drag us down, and try to keep that as a bit of a narrative in there too, eh? So just throwing that out there.
Well, the main narrative is optimism.
Yes. Very soon, I want to do a post in the Optimist subreddit. And
Optimists Unite.
Yes, Optimists Unite. Yes.
Oh, I remember that subreddit. That's where I learned about this.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right. That's where I came across you. Yeah.
That's where Brian and I met.
By the way, Brian has successfully made some posts that drew a lot of people to this. I've never made a post that in anything I've ever done that drew that much attention. So there's something good about Brian's writing that is causing that.
Well, between that and the idea itself.
Yeah. Well, the idea itself is probably, once again, not that popular. But there's other areas and other things that we can do and push that are popular and help steer people towards this idea. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I just want to put it out there that let's keep a positive attitude. Let's try to make this fun. Eventually, as we get our groups bigger, we'll try to get, maybe put together some meetings where we can all actually physically get together and have some real fun, eventually. In different groups.
Where, in Canada or US or what? Maybe Thailand.
Well, yeah.
Taiwan.
Yeah. Or just various groups in different places, Anyway, just throwing it out there. Let's bear in mind, let's try to keep this fun. Let's, maybe a little bit of an emphasis on being a fun thing to do, right? Changing the world should be fun. It should be enjoyable. We should, we should relish in our ability or our opportunity to try. Even if we don't succeed, the fun is in trying, really. Even if we do not succeed, let's at least have fun in this effort. So anyway, just wanted to put that out there. I think that's, I think she's absolutely right. If a revolution is not fun, it doesn't really take off. So anyway. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Is that where are we at here today?
I'm trying to think of any revolutions that happened where the people were like, "Yeah, this is fun."
It sounds like a plot for a South Park episode.
Have you seen I just found this nonprofit today. It was called Leaving MAGA, and the way they talk about that movement does kind of like not necessarily fun, but more so like providing a sense of community for people.
Very much, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they do. Is they, even in war, right? And often a revolution is war, right? Even in a warring situation, if you are on the side that is winning, you consider it's inspiring and it's exciting, and I don't want to play up war.
When they win, they look excited.
Yes, exactly. I mean, you will not see a more excited group than the group that just overtook another group.
If the war in Ukraine ended in the sense that Russia left, let's say, I think there'd be a lot of fun-loving Ukrainians having some fun.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. When you are winning in a revolution, that's when it's fun. When you're losing, of course, no, it all goes the other way, right? But when you're winning, and I hate to relate violence with fun, but I mean the fact of the matter is that's why people get so engrossed in their units when they are.
That's why they were fighting in the first place.
Yeah, So, you're fighting for your comrades. It's the camaraderie there is a compounding factor to that fun, and I think it is kind of odd for me to say fun and war or fun and fighting, but they are enjoying it. There's no other way to look at it.
How did we get from direct democracy to the joy of war?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I really took us off on a weird tangent there. But anyway, I just wanted to point out that we should try to make this fun. Let's just leave it at that.
All right.
Are you having fun there, Ernst? Is this fun to you?
Oh, it's a riot. You got to believe it.
I've been having fun, but I also have fun in my nonprofit to end the world, end apostasy laws worldwide. And the topic is death. and so many people are suffering from this, and I'm still having fun, and it feels weird to have fun in this topic.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
I feel weird saying it. I feel weird making jokes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I feel weird talking about fun here when the world seems like it's burning, but at the same time, if the two. There's no reason we can't enjoy what we're doing, right? So anyway, I thought that was a poignant thing that we should consider.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Anyone want to talk about?
Not that I can think of. Brian, I'm going to get a hold of you later today.
Okay.
in reference to the server costs and that.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. I wanted to. Yes. That slipped my mind this week. We're gonna make sure. We're gonna make some make arrangements for that. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I'll email you here in a little bit, and
Okay.
we can start a conversation, see what we can come up with.
Okay. That sounds great. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. We'll get
Now that
covered.
everything on the website end is set up, except for the actual site itself.
Yeah.
Now we need to start making
Yeah.
sure, because we'll be due for renewal at the end of this month for the month.
Okay.
You know, I wonder
Or
if I
June.
if I can help reduce the cost by sharing it with my organization. You know what I mean? Because I need the same thing, and I want to get away from using GoDaddy's bullshit and their website builder. So maybe I can share some of the cost because I need the same kind of thing. And, you know, I'm going to get a benefit because I'm going to be learning. I don't even know how to do these things. I will be learning from Edward. So what do you guys think about that?
I'm okay with it. I mean, we basically had the same principles going on, you know, trying to make changes
And the point is, the server you're setting up, it can handle a lot more than what KAOS needs and my needs.
until we
course,
get the
that'll change in the
database really
future.
going.
In the future, if one of them gets really big, then of course things have to change. But for now,
Yeah.
it's barely any visits to our websites. And
Yeah, and if you transfer your domains, it'll be cheaper than GoDaddy. I only pay $12.99 a year.
I'm paying $22 a year for each of my fucking
Uh-huh.
domains.
Yeah, and it's $12.99 a year for each domain.
Yeah.
Through HostGator. Plus it's, but I think it came out to a total cost at first setup, doing the domain name transfer and all that. It cost me like at first $26 to set everything up.
And we're looking at something like $150 a year for the hosting server.
Something like that. Something like that. I'll have to look on it. And of course,
So
that depends on which plan you go with too.
Yeah, of course. But it seems to me you can go with the lowest one.
And that's what we're on.
Okay. And then maybe we could split that cost in half. Uniting the Cults does half of it.
Yeah.
That'll help Brian out, right? All right.
I mean,
Well,
I have
we
no
got nothing
problem
else, then let's
covering what
end
I
it
got to
here.
cover. So, all right.
We'll get covered for now. And if you can benefit by jumping in there, yeah, do that, Robbie.
Well, it benefits both of us, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
you-
So let's just go ahead and end it here, and we'll meet up next week. And 70, please send me whatever you were going to send me, and we'll try to prepare for discussing all that stuff next week.
All right, sounds good.
All right. Thanks for coming over, 70, and thanks for everyone else coming over.
Yeah. Thanks, you guys. Thanks, everybody.
Nice to meet you, 70.
Let's have fun in this
Yeah.
revolution.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's have fun, guys. Yes. All right. Have a good night.
Bye, I'll
Okay.
see everyone later.
Take it easy.
Later.